us for another immersive story experience. If you enjoy tales of courage, resilience, and the unbreakable spirit, please hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Tonight, we delve into a poignant narrative titled The Last Meal Together, a dog's struggle to survive. Betty, a golden retriever with eyes the color of warm honey and a perpetual, goofy grin, considered himself the luckiest dog in the world. His world revolved around the Miller family, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, with their kind hands and endless supply of belly rubs, and their two children, 8-year-old Lily and 10-year-old Tom, who were his personal fetch and tug-of-war champions. Their home, a cozy 2-story house nestled on the edge of a sprawling park, was a haven of familiar scents, sunbeams for napping, and the comforting rhythm of human chatter. Every day was an adventure, whether it was chasing squirrels in the backyard, accompanying Tom to the bus stop, or snuggling on the couch during movie nights. Buddy's heart, a boundless reservoir of loyalty and affection, thrummed with contentment. This particular Saturday, however, promised an extra special kind of joy. The air hummed with the promise of summer, a gentle breeze rustling through the newly green leaves of the oak trees that lined their street. Picnic baskets brimming with tantalizing aromas of grilled chicken, potato salad, and what Buddy knew would be the occasional dropped crumb of chocolate chip cookie were being loaded into the family's old, reliable SUV. Lily's high-pitched giggles mingled with Tom's excited shouts as they raced to claim their seats in the back. Buddy, tail wagging so hard his entire hindquarters wiggled, was already in his favorite spot in the cargo area, nose pressed against the window, anticipating the open spaces of Meadowbrook Park. The park was a symphony of delights for a dog. Wide open fields for sprinting, tall grass for playful pouncing, and the ever-present possibility of a friendly squirrel or two to politely chase. The Millers had chosen their usual spot beneath a grand old willow tree, its branches weeping gracefully towards a shimmering pond. A vibrant red and white checkered blanket was spread out, instantly becoming the epicenter of their afternoon. Buddy, after a joyful romp with Tom and Lily, settled down, his head resting on Mr. Miller's lap, soaking in the warmth of the sun and the steady, comforting presence of his human. The sounds of laughter, the clinking of cutlery, the rustle of leaves, it was all a perfect melody. Mrs. Miller, ever thoughtful, had even packed a special treat for him, a small, unseasoned chicken breast, which he devoured with polite enthusiasm, tail thumping a steady rhythm of gratitude against the grass. The afternoon stretched on, idyllic and seemingly endless. Tom and Lily chased each other, their shouts echoing across the field, while Mr. and Mrs. Miller talked quietly, occasionally glancing at their children with fond smiles. Buddy drifted in and out of a light doze, his senses still alert to the sounds of his family, his world utterly complete. As the sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a gentle tiredness settled over the park. The Millers began to pack up, the remnants of their feast carefully stored away. Buddy, sensing the end of their outing, gave a contented sigh and stretched his long body. He knew the routine, a final dash, a quick drink from his portable bowl, and then the comfortable drive home, where he would fall asleep curled at the foot of Lily's bed. This perfect day, however, was about to take an unforeseen and devastating turn, a turn that would forever alter the trajectory of Buddy's simple, happy life. A faint, distant wail, almost imperceptible at first, began to pierce the tranquil evening air. It was a sound Buddy had never associated with fear, only with the distant, impersonal urgency of the city. But tonight it felt different, closer, a growing crescendo that seemed to pull at the very fabric of their peace, an ominous chord striking just as the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky. The familiar rumble of the SUV's engine was usually a soothing sound, a lullaby promising the comforts of home. Buddy nestled amongst the picnic blankets and an empty cooler in the cargo area, allowed his eyes to droop, already dreaming of soft rugs and warm laps. The scent of his family, a comforting blend of their individual perfumes and the lingering aroma of the day's feast, filled the air. Lily's sleepy hum from the back seat was a gentle accompaniment to the steady hum of the tires on the asphalt. The world outside was a blur of fading light and passing trees, a comforting tableau of the journey home. Suddenly, without warning, the world exploded. A deafening screech, a gut-wrenching lurch that threw Buddy violently against the side of the vehicle, followed by a cacophony of shattering glass, tearing metal, and a terrifying, bone-jarring impact. His body slammed, twisted, and rebounded, a searing pain shooting through his side. The vehicle spun, a dizzying, disorienting whirl, before coming to an abrupt, violent halt. The air was instantly thick with the acrid smell of burnt rubber and gasoline, an alien, terrifying scent. For a moment, there was only the ringing in Buddy's ears, the throbbing pain, and a profound, terrifying silence. It was a silence unlike any he had ever known, a heavy, suffocating blanket that pressed down on his senses, replacing the familiar sounds of his family with an eerie void. He whimpered, a low, pained sound, trying to push himself up. His legs felt shaky, his head swam. He could see twisted metal, shards of glass glinting ominously in the dim twilight, and the crumpled, unrecognizable form of what was once their family SUV. Panic, cold and sharp, began to prick at his consciousness. Where were they? Where was his family? He strained his neck, his eyes darting around the wreckage. He could hear faint moans, human sounds, but they were distant, muffled, and filled with a distress he couldn't comprehend. With a surge of adrenaline overriding the pain, Buddy forced himself forward, dragging his injured leg. He pushed through a gap in the mangled back seat, his fur catching on jagged edges, his nose searching desperately for the familiar sense of Lily. Tom, Mr. or Mrs. Miller. He found Lily first, slumped against the crushed door, her small body unnaturally still. Her scent was there, but it was mixed with something metallic and terrifying. He nudged her hand, whined softly, trying to elicit a response, a familiar pat, a sleepy giggle, nothing, only the shallow, ragged sound of her breathing, barely perceptible. Tom was further forward, entangled in the front seats, his face pale, eyes closed. Mr. and Mrs. Miller were in the front, twisted, silent. A cold dread, a primitive fear he had never experienced before, began to seep into Buddy's bones. He didn't understand what had happened, but he knew, with a certainty that chilled him to his core, that something was terribly, fundamentally wrong. The distant wail from earlier, now an insistent, piercing shriek, grew louder, closer. Red and blue lights began to flash, painting the twisted metal in stark, urgent hues. Human voices, sharp and stressed, filled the air, replacing the silence with a new kind of chaos. Strangers in uniforms, their faces grim, swarmed the vehicle. Buddy, bewildered and terrified, tried to stay close to his family, to guard them, to protect them. But he was just a dog, an obstacle in the frantic rush of human intervention. A large hand, gloved and impersonal, pushed him gently but firmly away from Lily. He whimpered, trying to get back, but another hand, then another, guided him further from the wreckage, away from the familiar scents, away from his unresponsive family. He watched, confused and hopeless, as paramedics worked, as stretchers were brought, as his family, one by one, was carefully lifted and carried away, swallowed by the flashing lights and the urgent murmur of voices. He barked, a desperate, pleading sound, trying to make them see him, trying to make them stop, but they didn't. They just kept moving, taking his family with them, leaving him alone amidst the growing silence of the night once more. The red and blue lights, once a chaotic, overwhelming spectacle, now receded into the distance, growing smaller and fainter until they vanished entirely around a bend in the road. With them went the urgent voices, the hurried footsteps, the presence of other living beings. Buddy was left alone. The silence that descended this time was even heavier than before, a profound, aching void. It pressed in on him from all sides, amplifying the ringing in his ears and the throbbing ache in his side. He stood amidst the debris, a solitary figure in the pale moonlight, his golden fur streaked with grime and a smear of something dark and metallic. His nose, usually so reliable, now registered a confusing mellowing of scents: gasoline, burnt rubber, human fear, and the faint fading traces of his beloved family. He whined, a low, mournful sound that seemed to be swallowed by the vast emptiness of the night. His instinct, raw and powerful, screamed at him to follow, to run after the retreating ambulance, to catch up to the vehicle that had taken his family away. He took a few limping steps in that direction, his injured leg protesting with a sharp stab of pain. But the road was dark, unfamiliar, and the last of the lights had already disappeared. What if he ran the wrong way? What if he couldn't find them? What if he got lost in this terrifying, unknown expanse? A deeper, more primal instinct took hold. A dog's loyalty, an unbreakable tether to his pack, rooted him to the spot. They had left, but they would surely come back for him. They had to. This was where they had been. This was where the asterisk thing asterisk had happened. This was the last place they were together. He curled up near a twisted piece of the SUV, a fragment of the familiar, trying to draw comfort from its cold, mangled form. He closed his eyes, willing the images of the picnic, of Lily's laughter, of Tom's gentle pats to return. But all that came was the image of Lily's still face, Tom's closed eyes, and the impenetrable silence of his parents. His heart ached with a pain far deeper than his physical wounds. He didn't understand. Why hadn't they taken him? Why had they left him here, alone, in this terrifying place? His mind, though simple in its canine logic, grappled with the enormity of his abandonment. He wasn't just lost. He was asterisk forgotten asterisk. The thought was a sharp pang, an injustice that cut through his loyal soul. He had always been there for them, a constant, unwavering presence. And now, when they needed him most, or perhaps when he needed asterisk them asterisk most, he was cast aside. Hours crawled by, each one stretching into an eternity. The moon arced across the sky, casting long, shifting shadows that played tricks on his exhausted eyes. Every rustle in the underbrush, every distant hoot of an owl, sent a jolt of fear through him. He was no longer safe in his familiar backyard, protected by the sturdy walls of his home. He was exposed, vulnerable, a small, warm target in a vast, cold world. Hunger, a dull ache at first, began to gnaw at his stomach. Thirst, a parched dryness in his throat, became an insistent demand. He had always had fresh water in his bowl, always had food at regular intervals. These sensations were alien, frightening. But even more potent than the physical discomfort was the crushing weight of his loneliness. He missed the warmth of a human hand, the sound of a familiar voice, the simple presence of his family. He let out another mournful whine, a plaintive sound that echoed briefly in the empty night, a testament to his profound sorrow. He would wait. He would stay right here. He had to believe they would return. They simply had to. His entire world was built on that certainty, and even now, amidst the wreckage and the despair, he clung to it with the last vestiges of his broken heart. He would be here when they came back for their last meal together, when they came back for him. Dawn broke not with the familiar gentle light filtering through his bedroom window, but with a harsh, indifferent glare that revealed the full extent of the desolation. Buddy had spent the night curled in a tight ball, shivering despite the mild air, his body stiff from the cold ground and his injuries. The broken glass, the twisted metal, the scattered remnants of the picnic blanket, they were all stark reminders of the night's horror. In the cold light of day, The hope he had clung to through the long hours of darkness began to fray. They hadn't come back. The sun climbed higher, warming the air, but doing nothing to thaw the icy grip of fear and loneliness around his heart. His stomach rumbled loudly, a hollow, insistent ache that demanded attention. His throat was parched, his tongue feeling like sandpaper. These were physical needs he had never truly experienced before, not in this raw, undeniable way. His entire life had been a tapestry of comfort and care, where food and water were simply always there, provided by loving hands. Now, there was nothing. He tried to sniff around the immediate area. His nose, usually so adept at picking up exciting scents, now only found the lingering odors of burnt oil and fear. He nudged at a crumpled paper plate, hoping for a forgotten crumb, but it was empty. He pawed at the ground where the picnic blanket had been, but only found dry dirt. The sheer abundance of food from yesterday felt like a cruel, distant memory, a tantalizing ghost of what was. His eyes, once bright and full of playful mischief, were now clouded with confusion and a deep, unsettling sadness. He looked up and down the deserted road, his ears perked, straining for the familiar sound of the miller's car, the distant echo of their voices. But there was only the chirping of unseen birds, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, and the unsettling hum of passing cars on a more distant highway, all sounds that were indifferent to his plight. Every instinct told him to stay, to wait. His family would come, they always did, but another, more insistent voice, born of his rumbling stomach and parched throat, urged him to move, to seek. It was a terrifying conflict within him. To leave this spot felt like a betrayal, an admission that they weren't coming back, yet to stay meant to starve, to wither away. He lay his head on his paws, letting out a soft whimper. He caught a faint, sweet scent on a scrap of cloth caught on a thorny bush, Lily's favorite scarf. He picked it up gently in his mouth, the soft fabric a painful reminder of her warmth, her laughter. He carried it for a while, a small, tangible piece of his past, but eventually the smell faded and the scarf became just another piece of debris. He dropped it with a sigh that seemed too heavy for a dog, watching it flutter away in the wind. The sun was now high in the sky, beating down on him. The immediate area offered no shade, no respite. The road stretched out in both directions, an endless, daunting path. He had to choose: stay and waste away, clinging to a fading hope, or venture into the unknown, driven by the primal urge to survive. The choice, though agonizing, was slowly becoming clear. The instinct to live, to find sustenance, was a powerful current pulling him forward, away from the wreckage, away from the last physical remnants of his family. He took a tentative step, then another, his head still turning back towards the twisted metal, his heart heavy with a grief that transcended words. The cold reality was setting in. He was alone, and if he wanted to live, he had to move. Driven by the gnawing ache in his belly and the parching dryness of his throat, Buddy finally turned his back on the wreckage. Each step away felt like tearing a piece of his heart, a betrayal of the loyalty that had defined his entire existence. But the instinct to survive, a raw, undeniable force, was now stronger than his grief. He began to limp slowly down the road, his nose to the ground, his senses heightened, searching for anything that might offer sustenance. His world had shrunk from the comfort and confines of his home to the desperate expanse of the open road. The smells were overwhelming and alien. The sharp tang of exhaust fumes, the metallic scent of distant machinery, the damp earth, and the faint, tantalizing aroma of something edible that always seemed to be just out of reach. He was no longer a pampered pet with a perfectly balanced diet. He was a scavenger, a hunter of scraps, a survivor. His initial attempts were clumsy and disheartening. He nudged at discarded paper bags, only to find them empty. He sniffed at crumpled plastic bottles, finding nothing but the stale scent of human drinks. His paws, once accustomed to soft carpets and manicured lawns, now ached on the rough asphalt and sharp gravel of the roadside. He stopped at a small, murky puddle near a drainage ditch, lapping eagerly at the lukewarm, slightly oily water. It was far from the fresh, cool water from his bowl, but it was enough to temporarily quench his thirst. A small victory, but a victory nonetheless. He continued his slow, painful journey, his ears swiveling, his eyes scanning every shadow, every glint of something potentially edible. The sun beat down relentlessly, making the asphalt shimmer, and his injured leg throbbed with every step. Just as despair began to creep back in, a new scent, subtle but distinct, caught his attention. It was the faint, greasy aroma of cooked meat, mingling with the sweet tang of ketchup. His tail, which hadn't wagged since the accident, gave a tiny, almost imperceptible twitch. He followed the scent with renewed determination, limping towards a cluster of overgrown bushes by the side of the road. There, half hidden beneath a tangle of weeds, lay a crumpled fast food wrapper. His heart, or what felt like it, pounded with a strange mix of excitement and apprehension. He nudged it cautiously with his nose, then carefully unfurled the greasy paper with his teeth. Inside, stuck to the bottom, was a tiny, dried-up piece of what looked like a hamburger patty, no bigger than his thumbnail. It wasn't much, but it was food. Real food. He devoured it in a single gulp, the taste a revelation, a sharp reminder of the delicious meals he used to take for granted. The morsel was gone in an instant, but the brief burst of energy, the momentary satisfaction, was profound. It was a stark contrast to the gourmet meals he once received, an almost humiliating experience for a dog who once ate from a ceramic bowl, yet in that moment, it was a lifeline. As he finished, a small brown squirrel, emboldened by his stillness, darted out from the bushes, chattering indignantly at him before scampering up a tree. Buddy watched it go, a strange sense of detachment settling over him. He used to chase squirrels with playful abandon, seeing them as delightful game. Now, he saw a fellow survivor, a creature that knew how to forage, how to find its own way. The sun, which had been a harsh, indifferent companion through Buddy's first scavenge, began to retreat behind an ominous curtain of bruised purple clouds. The air grew heavy and still, charged with an unsettling energy. A distant rumble, low and guttural, echoed across the landscape. Buddy, whose senses were now hyper-attuned to the nuances of his new world, felt an instinctual dread. He had always enjoyed a good summer storm from the safe vantage point of the living room couch, curled up next to Lily, listening to the rain drum against the window pane. Now, the approaching storm was a direct threat, a chilling reminder of his vulnerability. He picked up his pace, a desperate limp transforming into a more urgent, if still clumsy, run. His injured leg throbbed with every strained movement, but the primal urge to find shelter, to escape the elements, was paramount. He scanned the horizon, his eyes darting from side to face, searching for any sign of refuge. The open road offered nothing but exposure. The fields flanking it were too flat, too exposed. He needed cover, something solid to protect him from the coming deluge. The first fat drops of rain splattered onto the asphalt, dark circles rapidly expanding. A gust of wind, cold and damp, rustled through the trees, carrying with it the fresh, earthy scent of rain. Betty whimpered, a low sound of fear and desperation. He stumbled into a dense thicket of blackberry bushes, their thorns snagging at his matted fur, but he pushed through, hoping for some hidden alcove. There was nothing but more tangled undergrowth. He emerged, panting, his fur already damp, his heart pounding. Then a faint outline caught his eye. Just off the road, partially obscured by overgrown weeds and a sagging wire fence, stood a small, derelict structure. It looked like an old, abandoned shed, its wooden walls weathered and peeling, its corrugated tin roof rusted and bent. It wasn't much, but it was a solid shape, a promise of cover. With a renewed burst of energy, Buddy pushed through the gap in the fence, ignoring the stinging scratches from the barbed wire. The shed door hung askew on a single hinge, groaning softly in the wind. He nudged it open with his nose, slipping inside. The interior was dark, musty, and smelled faintly of damp earth and decaying wood. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light that pierced through cracks in the walls. It was far from the clean, warm comfort of his old bed, but it was dry. It was shelter. He collapsed onto the dirt floor, his body trembling, exhausted and relieved. The first clap of thunder cracked directly overhead, a deafening roar that made him jump. The rain began to fall in earnest, drumming a furious rhythm on the tin roof, a sound that would have once been cozy, but now felt menacing. Cold drafts seeped through the cracks, chilling his wet fur. He curled into the tightest ball he could manage, tucking his nose into his tail, trying to conserve what little body heat he had. The darkness inside the shed was absolute, broken only by the occasional flash of lightning that briefly illuminated the dusty interior. Each flash seemed to bring with it a fresh wave of loneliness and fear. He missed the comforting presence of his family, their voices, their warmth. He missed the feeling of being safe, protected, cherished. Here, in this cold, damp shed, he was utterly alone, a tiny spark of life adrift in a vast, indifferent world. He let out a soft whine, a quiet plea into the darkness, but there was no answer, only the relentless drumming of the rain. Sleep, when it finally came, was fitful and disturbed by the sounds of the storm and the vivid, haunting images of his past life. He dreamed of soft blankets and gentle hands, of a world that felt impossibly far away. But even in his dreams, the rain on the tin roof was a constant, insistent reminder of his new, harsh reality. He was just a dog, a survivor, sheltering from the storm, one day, one struggle at a time. The storm eventually passed, leaving behind a world washed clean, but Buddy's heart remained heavy and muddied with grief. He emerged from the shed, stiff and sore, into a landscape that glistened under a pale, watery sun. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the fresh scent of wet earth and growing things. But for Buddy, it was just another day of navigating an existence stripped bare of all familiar comforts. He spent the morning foraging, finding a few more meager scraps near a roadside rest stop, a half-eaten sandwich crust, a dropped potato chip. Each bite was a victory, but the satisfaction was fleeting, quickly overshadowed by the persistent ache of emptiness. The physical hunger was being addressed, however minimally, but the hunger of his heart remained insatiable. As he wandered, drawn by an invisible thread of memory, he found himself near a small, abandoned playground, its swings creaking softly in the breeze. A faded plastic slide stood silent, a melancholic monument to forgotten laughter. And there, half buried in the damp sand, was a small, brightly colored object. Buddy approached cautiously, his tail low, his ears slightly flattened. It was a worn red rubber ball, one that looked remarkably like the one Tom and Lily used to play with in the park, his family's park. A wave of recognition, sharp and painful, washed over him. He nudged it with his nose, then carefully picked it up in his mouth, the familiar texture a jolt to his memory. He remembered Tom's strong arm throwing it, Lily's squeals of delight as he chased it, the joyous rush of retrieving it and bringing it back, dropping it at their feet, waiting for the next throw. The ball was a tangible link, a small, vibrant echo of a life that felt impossibly distant now. He carried the ball for hours, guarding it fiercely. He lay down in the center of the playground, the red ball nestled between his paws, almost as if he expected Tom or Lily to appear at any moment, ready to resume their game. He whined softly, a low, mournful sound, his eyes fixed on the empty swings. He saw them there, in his mind's eye, their small figures pumping their legs, their laughter ringing out. He heard their voices, calling his name, clear as day. He felt Lily's soft hand stroking his fur, Tom's excited shouts urging him on. The memories were vivid, almost unbearable in their clarity, a cruel reminder of what he had lost. He spent the rest of the day in that playground, a silent sentinel, lost in a world of ghosts. The sun began its descent once more, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, just as it had on the day of the picnic. The sight, once beautiful, now brought a fresh wave of grief. He remembered curling up on Mr. Miller's lap, watching the sunset, feeling utterly complete. Now, he was utterly broken. As darkness fell, a profound loneliness settled upon him, heavier than any physical burden. He lifted his head to the sky, a long, drawn-out howl escaping his throat. It was not a howl of aggression or a call to a pack. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated despair, a lament for his lost family, for his shattered world, for the warmth and love that had been so cruelly snatched away. The howl echoed across the empty playground, a lonely cry swallowed by the vast, indifferent night. He lay back down, the red ball still clutched between his paws, a silent promise to a family that might never return. The echoes of home were everywhere, in every scent, every sound, every memory, and they were a torment he had to endure alone. Days bled into weeks, blurring into an endless cycle of hunger, fear, and aching loneliness. Buddy's golden fur, once shiny and well-groomed, was now matted with dirt and burrs, his ribs becoming increasingly prominent beneath his skin. His injured leg had healed somewhat, but it left him with a permanent limp, a constant reminder of the day his world shattered. The red rubber ball eventually rolled away, lost to a gust of wind, and Buddy, with a heavy sigh, made no attempt to retrieve it. He was slowly, painfully, shedding the last vestiges of his pampered past. The constant waiting, the silent vigil for a family that never returned, had taken its toll. He realized, with a deep, primal understanding, that he could not simply wait to die. The instinct to live, though battered and bruised, was still stubbornly alive within him. He had to move. He had to seek. His journey became less about waiting and more about wandering with purpose. He started to follow the winding country roads, an unseen force drawing him forward. Perhaps it was an instinctual pull towards civilization, or a subconscious memory of the route they took to the park. A faint hope that if he retraced their steps, he might somehow find his way back to his old life. The road, however, was a dangerous teacher. Fast-moving vehicles roared past, their wind currents buffeting his lean frame, their tires a constant threat. He learned to hug the shoulder, to dart into the ditch at the approach of a particular loud truck. He learned to distinguish between the indifferent hum of a passing car and the slowing engine of a potential threat or potential savior. He observed the smaller creatures of the wild, the rabbits that froze at the approach of danger, the birds that took flight at the slightest disturbance. He was becoming more attuned to the rhythms of this harsh new world. His senses sharpened. The scent of a distant compost pile, the sound of a rustling bush, the subtle shift in the wind, all became vital pieces of information in his daily quest for survival. He learned to associate certain smells with potential food, others with danger. A discarded apple core, a dropped sandwich crust, even a half-eaten berry from a low-hanging bush. These were now treasures, devoured quickly and furtively. He still missed the taste of his kibble, the special chicken treats, the occasional stolen cookie. But the taste of survival, however meager, was a powerful motivator. One afternoon, as the sun beat down relentlessly, he found himself at a crossroads. One path led deeper into dense woods. The other continued along a paved road, past what looked like a few scattered farmhouses in the distance. He hesitated, his canine mind weighing the options. The woods offered cover, perhaps prey, but also unknown dangers. The road offered the possibility of human contact, of discarded food, but also the constant threat of vehicles and wary humans. He chose the road. There was still a part of him, deep down, that yearned for the touch of a human hand, the sound of a kind voice. He was a dog, after all, bred for companionship, not for solitude. As he limped along, a truck rumbled past him, slowing slightly. A man peered out the window, his expression unreadable. Buddy's tail gave a tiny, involuntary wag, a flicker of his old self, but the man merely shook his head and sped up. The brief moment of interaction, though fruitless, left him with a renewed pang of longing. He was a ghost on the roadside, seen but not truly acknowledged. The journey was long, arduous, and often terrifying. But with each sunrise, with each scavenged meal, with each narrow escape from danger, a fierce, unyielding resolve grew within Buddy. He was a survivor. He would keep moving. He would find his way. He wasn't sure where he was going, but he knew he couldn't stay where he was. The road ahead, daunting as it was his only path. Buddy's journey continued, a monotonous rhythm of walking, sniffing, searching, and resting. His body was a testament to his struggle, leaner, tougher, his paws calloused, his fur a duller shade of gold. He had learned to move with a quiet stealth, his once playful exuberance replaced by a watchful caution. Days were spent avoiding humans and larger predators. Nights were spent curled in hidden culverts or beneath the skeletal branches of ancient trees, listening to the symphony of the wild. He had come to understand the language of the forest and the fields, the alarm calls of birds, the rustle of a snake in the grass, the distant howl of a coyote. He was a part of it now, a wild dog in all but his deepest, most ingrained instincts. One sweltering afternoon, as the sun beat down mercilessly, Buddy found himself at the edge of a small, overgrown clearing. A faint, almost imperceptible scent of human activity drew him in, not the fresh, overwhelming scent of people nearby, but the stale, lingering aroma of a temporary camp. Cautiously, he pushed through the tall weeds, his head low, his ears swiveling. In the center of the clearing, beneath a makeshift tarp shelter, lay the remnants of a human encampment. A cold fire pit, a discarded sleeping bag, and a few scattered items. But what truly caught Buddy's attention was a small, tightly sealed plastic bag, half buried in the dirt. His heart gave a curious thump. This wasn't just a wrapper or a discarded crust. This was a package. With a surge of cautious excitement, he dug it out. It was a partially eaten bag of dried jerky, forgotten by its previous owner. The scent was intoxicating, rich with savory promises. He tore at the plastic with his teeth, his jaws working furiously, until he ripped it open. The jerky, though tough and a little stale, was a feast. He devoured it ravenously, the taste a burst of flavor he hadn't experienced in what felt like an eternity. It wasn't the same as Mrs. Miller's carefully prepared chicken, but it was substantial, nourishing, and incredibly satisfying. For the first time in weeks, his stomach felt truly full, the gnawing emptiness replaced by a comforting warmth. The jerky provided more than just physical sustenance. It offered a glimmer of hope. It was a reminder that even in this harsh, unforgiving world, there were moments of unexpected bounty, small miracles that kept him going. As he finished the last piece, he lay down in the shade of the tarp, his body humming with a renewed sense of energy. He watched a family of deer graze peacefully in the distance, their movements fluid and graceful. He saw a hawk circling overhead, its keen eyes scanning the ground below. They were all survivors, living off the land, finding their way, but he realized he was no different. He was adapting, learning, evolving. He spent the rest of the day resting, digesting, and simply existing in the quiet solitude of the abandoned camp. The sense of despair that had clung to him like a shroud began to lift, replaced by a quiet resolve. He could do this. He could survive. He wasn't just Buddy, the pampered pet. He was Buddy, the survivor, the resilient spirit. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, but this time, the sunset brought not a fresh wave of grief, but a sense of quiet peace. He would continue his journey, fueled by this unexpected meal, guided by the faint, persistent glimmer of hope that now shone within him. The road ahead was still long, still dangerous, but for the first time in a long time, Buddy felt a flicker of optimism. He would keep going, one day, one step, one small victory at a time. Fueled by the jerky and a newfound sense of resolve, Buddy pushed deeper into the sprawling rural landscape. The roads became less frequent, replaced by dirt tracks and winding paths through dense woods and open fields. His senses, already sharpened, now operated with an almost primal efficiency. Every rustle of leaves, every distant scent was analyzed, categorized, and responded to. He was no longer just surviving. He was learning to thrive in this wild world, albeit a world still tinged with the memory of his past comfort. One crisp morning, as he followed a narrow game trail through a thicket of pine trees, a new scent hit him. It was distinctly canine, but not the familiar, friendly scent of a pet. This was a wilder, muskier aroma, laced with a warning. His hackles rose instinctively, a low growl rumbling in his chest. He slowed his pace, his ears swiveling forward, his body tensing. He wasn't alone. From around a bend in the trail emerged a dog, lean and wiry, with matted, dark fur and wary, intelligent eyes. It was a stray like him, but clearly one that had been living in the wild for much longer. Its stance was confident, territorial, a silent challenge in its posture. But he froze, his golden fur bristling. This was a different kind of encounter than with the wary squirrel. This was a direct threat, a confrontation over territory, resources, and dominance. The other dog, a mangy German Shepherd mix, let out a low, guttural growl, its lips peeling back to reveal impressive fangs. Its eyes, narrowed and suspicious, fixed on Buddy. Buddy, though he had never been in a true fight in his life, felt an ancient instinct rise within him. He returned the growl, a deeper, more resonant sound than he knew he possessed. He stood his ground, unwilling to back down, unwilling to relinquish the path he was on. He had fought too hard to survive to be intimidated now. The two dogs circled each other slowly, a silent dance of intimidation. Their hackles were fully raised, their tails held low, their muscles coiled and ready. The air crackled with tension. Buddy remembered the playful tussles with Tom, the mock fights with other dogs at the park. This was nothing like that. This was real, raw, and dangerous. The German Shepherd mix lunged first, a quick, fainting snap at Buddy's shoulder. Buddy instinctively dodged, a move born of pure survival, not training. He snapped back, a warning bark, his teeth bared. The other dog hesitated, surprised by Buddy's unexpected resilience. They continued to circle, their eyes locked. Buddy, though smaller and less experienced in wild combat, had a fierce determination burning in his honey-colored eyes. He wasn't fighting for sport. He was fighting for his life, for his right to exist in this unforgiving world. The standoff lasted for what felt like an eternity, each dog testing the other, assessing weakness, waiting for an opening. Finally, after a tense moment where neither seemed willing to commit to a full attack, the German Shepherd mix let out a frustrated huff. It turned its head, gave one last warning glance, and then, with a flick of its tail, melted back into the undergrowth, disappearing as silently as it had appeared. Buddy stood panting, his heart pounding in his chest, his muscles trembling from the adrenaline. He had survived. He hadn't won a glorious victory, but he hadn't backed down. He had asserted his presence, his right to be there. The encounter was a harsh lesson, a stark reminder that the world was full of other survivors, each fighting for their own patch of ground, their own scraps of food. He was no longer just Buddy, the Miller family pet. He was Buddy, a dog of the wild, a survivor in a brutal ecosystem. He continued his journey, but with a new awareness, a deeper understanding of the unspoken rules of this untamed world. He was learning, evolving, becoming a creature of instinct and resilience. The road ahead was still fraught with danger, but he was ready for it. He had to be. After the intense encounter with the territorial stray, Buddy continued his journey with heightened caution. The thrill of survival was tempered by the constant awareness of danger, both from other animals and from the unpredictable nature of humans. He had learned to be wary, to keep his distance, to trust only his instincts. His path led him through rolling farmlands, past sleepy hamlets, and alongside bustling highways, a constant observer of a world that moved on without him. He was a shadow, a fleeting glimpse in the periphery, his golden fur now a camouflage of dirt and sun. One scorching afternoon, as he limped along the dusty shoulder of a rarely used country road, the scent of freshly cooked food wafted towards him, tantalizing and almost unbearable. His stomach rumbled in protest, a hollow ache that seemed to echo his longing for a warm meal. He followed the scent, his pace quickening despite his weary legs, towards a small, rundown farm stand selling fresh produce. A lone woman, her face weathered by sun and time, sat on a wooden stool, meticulously arranging baskets of ripe red apples. Buddy hesitated at the edge of the property, hidden by a cluster of overgrown sunflowers. His ingrained instinct to approach humans, to seek their companionship and kindness, warred with his newfound caution. He remembered Mr. Miller's gentle hand, Lily's soft strokes, but he also remembered the impatient shove at the accident site, the indifference of the passing truck driver. He observed the woman for a long time, watching her movements, listening to the soft murmur of her humming. She seemed kind, her posture relaxed, her gaze often drifting to the distant fields. Finally, the hunger won. With a low whine, Buddy emerged from the sunflowers, his tail giving a tentative, almost imperceptible wag. The woman's head snapped up, her eyes, the color of cornflowers, widened slightly in surprise. She didn't shout, didn't raise her hand. Instead, a soft, sympathetic expression crossed her face. "Well, hello there, fella," she murmured, her voice gentle, devoid of threat. She slowly reached into a canvas bag beside her stool and pulled out a half-eaten sandwich. It was simple, just bread and cheese, but to Buddy it smelled like heaven. She tore off a piece of the sandwich and slowly, carefully, tossed it a few feet away from her. Buddy, still wary, hesitated. His nose twitched, his eyes darting from the food to the woman's face, searching for any sign of malice. He saw only kindness. He took a hesitant step, then another, his hunger overriding his fear. He snatched the bread and cheese in a gulp, then retreated a few paces, devouring it quickly. The woman smiled faintly, a sad, knowing smile. She tossed another piece, then another, until the sandwich was gone. Buddy ate each piece with a mixture of desperate hunger and an almost forgotten sense of gratitude. As he finished the last piece, the woman spoke again, her voice soft. "You look like you've been through a lot, haven't you, boy?" She extended her hand slowly, palm up, inviting him closer. For a moment, Buddy considered it. The warmth of her voice, the kindness in her eyes were a powerful draw. He longed for that familiar touch, that gentle scratch behind the ears. But the memory of his past, the sudden, brutal rupture of his world, held him back. What if this kindness was fleeting? What if she couldn't keep him? What if he was just left alone again? The fear of renewed abandonment was a cold, bitter taste in his mouth. With a heavy sigh, a silent apology, Buddy took a step back, then another. He offered her a soft whimper, a canine thank you, then turned and slowly limped away, disappearing back into the sunflowers. He heard her sigh, a sound of gentle regret, but she made no attempt to follow. He was grateful for the food, for the brief moment of human connection, but he knew he couldn't stay. His journey was not yet over. He had to keep moving, a lone wolf in a world that occasionally offered small acts of grace, but no permanent haven. The kindness of strangers was a balm, but not a home. Buddy's path gradually shifted, leaving behind the quiet solitude of farmlands and winding country roads. The air grew heavier, thick with the scent of exhaust fumes and 1,000 unfamiliar human odors. The distant hum that had once been a mere background noise now crescendoed into a cacophony of roaring engines, blaring horns, and incessant human chatter. He was nearing a town, or perhaps even a city, a sprawling urban jungle that promised both potential resources and overwhelming dangers. His instincts, honed by weeks of survival, were on high alert. He moved cautiously, hugging the shadows, his golden fur now a mosaic of grime and dust, making him blend imperfectly with the grays and browns of the environment. The transition was jarring. The open fields and dense woods, where threats were usually visible and predictable, were replaced by towering buildings, endless asphalt, and a bewildering maze of streets. The constant flow of human activity was overwhelming. People hurried past, their faces preoccupied, their footsteps rapid and purposeful. Dogs on leashes barked from behind fences, their barks a mixture of aggression and frustrated confinement. Buddy, once a social creature, now instinctively avoided direct eye contact, learning that invisibility was his best defense. Scavenging in the city was a different beast altogether. While there were more discarded scraps, they were often harder to reach, buried in overflowing bins or guarded by wary residents. He learned the rhythm of garbage collection days, the best times to sneak into alleys behind restaurants, the quietest parks where picnickers might leave behind a dropped crumb. But these opportunities were often fraught with peril. He narrowly escaped being hit by a speeding bicycle, dodged a thrown rock from a group of teenagers, and learned to give wide berth to other strays who defended their meager territories with fierce aggression. One evening, as dust settled over the city, painting the sky in artificial orange hues from the streetlights, Buddy found himself utterly exhausted and disoriented. He had spent hours navigating a labyrinth of back alleys, his paws sore, his stomach aching. The constant noise and movement were draining. He needed shelter, a place where he could simply exist without the threat of being chased, captured, or worse. He spotted a narrow gap between two brick buildings, leading to a small, forgotten space. It was dark, smelled faintly of damp concrete and neglect, but it was secluded. He squeezed through the gap, finding himself in a tiny, enclosed courtyard, largely hidden from the street. An old, rusted dumpster occupied one corner, and the skeletal remains of a broken wooden pallet lay nearby. It wasn't much, but it offered a degree of safety. He curled up behind the dumpster, his body aching, his senses still on high alert. The sounds of the city, though muffled, still permeated the air. The distant wail of a siren, the rumble of a late-night bus, the shouts of revelers. He missed the quiet chirping of crickets, the rustle of leaves, the familiar sounds of his old neighborhood. He drifted into a fitful sleep, his dreams a chaotic mix of flashing lights, roaring engines, and the ghostly faces of his family. The city was a harsh mistress, demanding constant vigilance, offering little comfort. He was a survivor, yes, but the urban jungle was testing the very limits of his endurance. He knew he couldn't stay in one place for long. The city was too fluid, too unpredictable. With the first hint of dawn, he would have to move again, a lone golden shadow navigating the concrete canyons, forever searching for a safe haven in a world that seemed determined to deny him one. His journey continued, relentless and unforgiving, a testament to the sheer will of a dog determined to find his way back to something resembling home. The urban jungle demanded constant vigilance, a relentless dance between hunger and danger. Buddy had learned to navigate the labyrinthine streets, to distinguish between the indifferent glances of passers-by and the sharp, suspicious eyes of those who might pose a threat. He knew the safe alleys for foraging, the quiet parks for a brief rest, and the hidden culverts for shelter. But even with his heightened awareness, the city held its unpredictable perils. One sweltering afternoon, as Buddy was cautiously investigating a partially open dumpster behind a bustling restaurant, a sudden sharp whistle pierced the air. His ears swiveled, his body tensed. He recognized the sound. It was the same high-pitched, authoritative whistle he'd heard from the animal control officers at the accident site. Though this time it was closer, more insistent. He looked up to see a man in a uniform, a large net held loosely in his hand, his eyes fixed on Buddy with a determined, no-nonsense expression. Panic, raw and unadulterated, surged through Buddy. He had seen what happened to other strays. He had witnessed the fear in their eyes as they were cornered, netted, and taken away in a dark, ominous-looking van. He knew with a primal certainty that he could not allow that to happen to him. He was a survivor, not a captive. With a burst of adrenaline, he bolted. He shot out from behind the dumpster, a flash of golden fur, ignoring the pain in his still-healing leg. The man shouted, and Buddy heard the heavy thud of his boots as he gave chase. The chase was terrifying and exhilarating. Buddy wove through a maze of parked cars, darted across busy intersections, his paws pounding on the hot asphalt. He was faster than he looked, fueled by pure terror. He heard the man's heavy breathing, the frustrated grunts, the occasional shout of "Stop, you mangy mutt." Buddy ignored him, his focus solely on escape. He squeezed through narrow gaps between buildings that the larger man couldn't follow, forcing him to take detours. He scrambled over low fences, his claws scrabbling for purchase. He even briefly lost himself in a bustling market, weaving through a throng of surprised shoppers, scattering vegetables and nearly tripping a fruit vendor before bursting out onto another street. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat of fear and exertion. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he couldn't stop. He couldn't be caught. He remembered the feeling of being pushed aside at the accident, the helplessness. He wouldn't be helpless again. He saw an open gate leading into a sprawling, overgrown industrial yard, filled with discarded machinery and towering stacks of rusted metal. It was a risky move, but it offered the best chance of losing his pursuer. He darted through the gate, the man's frustrated shout echoing behind him. Within the yard, Buddy moved like a phantom. He ducked under hulking pieces of equipment, squeezed through gaps in metal sheets, used the labyrinthine junk as his shield. He could still hear the man calling, but the sounds were becoming fainter, more distant, lost in the metallic echo chamber of the yard. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he heard the man give a final, exasperated sigh, followed by the sound of retreating footsteps. Silence, broken only by his own ragged breathing, slowly returned. Buddy collapsed behind a towering pile of old tires, his body trembling, his sides heaving. He was utterly exhausted, but he was free. He had faced a direct threat and had outsmarted it. The experience left him shaken, but also instilled a deeper sense of self-reliance. He was no longer just passively surviving. He was actively fighting for his freedom. The city was a dangerous place, but he was learning its rules, adapting to its challenges. He would live to see another day, another sunrise, another chance to find his way back to whatever home now meant. He was a survivor, forged in the crucible of loss and hardship, and his spirit, though weary, was unbroken. The narrow escape from animal control left Buddy with a renewed sense of caution, but also a strange, quiet pride. He had faced a direct threat and had outrun it. This knowledge, however, did little to quell the gnawing loneliness that was a constant companion. Weeks turned into months, and the golden retriever's once plump frame was now lean and sinewy, his movements precise and economical. He was a true survivor, but the absence of companionship, the lack of a familiar touch, remained an aching void in his heart. One chilly evening, as he huddled beneath a flimsy tarp in a deserted construction site on the city's edge, a faint whimper caught his attention. It was a sound of profound distress, small and vulnerable. His ears perked, and his head lifted. Every instinct told him to stay hidden, to avoid any potential new threat. But the sound was so weak, so pained, that a deeper, more ancient instinct, one of empathy and protection, stirred within him. Cautiously, Buddy crept out from his hiding spot, his tail low, his movements silent. He followed the whimpering sound to a pile of discarded lumber. There, shivering violently and whimpering softly, was a small, scruffy terrier mix, no bigger than a kitten, its fur matted and thin, its body trembling uncontrollably. It was clearly ill, weak, and utterly terrified. Its eyes, wide and glassy, met Buddy's with a raw plea for help. Buddy, who had learned to be wary of other strays, felt an immediate surge of something akin to pity, mixed with a forgotten sense of responsibility. This little creature was utterly defenseless. He remembered Lily's small, vulnerable hand, Tom's protective arm. He remembered being cared for, being cherished. And now, he saw a creature that needed the very care he had once received. He approached slowly, offering a soft, reassuring sniff. The terrier flinched, then, sensing no aggression, leaned weakly into Buddy's warmth. Buddy gently nudged the smaller dog, trying to convey comfort. He lay down beside it, curling his larger body around the shivering pup, offering what little warmth he could. The terrier, exhausted and relieved, almost immediately stopped whimpering, pressing itself against Buddy's side. They spent the night huddled together, two lost souls finding a momentary solace in each other's presence. The shared warmth, the quiet breathing of another living being, was a balm to Buddy's aching loneliness. The next morning, Buddy instinctively took on the role of protector. He found a half-eaten, discarded sandwich near a bus stop, and instead of devouring it himself, he brought it back to the terrier, nudging it towards the small dog. The terrier, whose name Buddy decided was Scrappy because of his appearance, ate cautiously, then looked up at Buddy with eyes full of a gratitude that needed no words. For the next few days, they became an unlikely pair. Buddy, the seasoned survivor, taught Scrappy how to find water, how to sniff out discarded food, how to avoid the busier streets. Scrappy, in turn, offered Buddy a companionship he hadn't realized he desperately craved. The smaller dog's presence filled a void, giving Buddy a sense of purpose beyond mere self-preservation. He wasn't just surviving for himself anymore. He was surviving for two. Their days were still hard, still fraught with danger, but they were no longer completely alone. The bond between them grew, a silent, unspoken pact of mutual survival. Buddy felt a flicker of his old self returning, a warmth in his chest that reminded him of what it felt like to give and receive affection. He was no longer just a lone golden shadow. He was a leader, a protector, a friend. The urban jungle, though still harsh, felt a little less daunting with a small, trusting companion by his side. The departure of Scrappy left a gaping wound in Buddy's heart, a stark reminder that in this brutal world, even fleeting moments of companionship were transient. The silence that had once been filled by Scrappy, as soft whimpers or the rustle of his small body beside him, now echoed with Buddy's own profound loneliness. Yet the instinct to survive, honed by months of hardship, remained unyielding. He had mourned, he had grieved, but he continued to move. The city, with its relentless noise and unpredictable dangers, began to feel less like a temporary haven and more like a suffocating cage. Driven by an innate desire for open spaces, for the familiar scent of earth and growing things, Buddy began to slowly make his way out of the urban sprawl, drawn towards the distant promise of green. His journey led him through varied and challenging landscapes. He traversed vast, golden fields, the tall grasses whispering secrets as he passed, providing both cover and the occasional small rodent to hunt. He learned to stalk, to pounce, to rely on the swiftness and cunning that his ancestors had perfected. He crossed shallow, rocky rivers, his paws slipping on the slick stones, the cold water a shocking jolt to his system. He navigated dense patches of forest, where the shadows stretched long and eerie, and the sounds of unseen creatures rustled in the undergrowth. Each environment presented its own unique set of challenges. In the open fields, he was exposed to the harsh sun and the keen eyes of predatory birds. In the forests, he faced the threat of larger animals and the disorientation of winding trails. He learned to read the signs of the land, the direction of the wind, the scent of water, the tracks of other animals. His body, once soft and well-fed, was now a testament to his endurance. His golden fur was matted and coarse, tangled with burrs and twigs. His once bright eyes now carried the weary wisdom of a seasoned survivor. His ribs were still visible, but his muscles were taut and strong, capable of long stretches of travel. The limp in his leg, though still present, had become a rhythmic part of his gait, a silent companion on his endless trek. He no longer thought consciously of home in the way he once did, not as a specific house or a particular family. The concept of home had evolved into something more abstract, a feeling of safety, a place of belonging, a haven where he wouldn't be alone. The memory of the Millers, once a vivid, painful image, had softened into a gentle ache, a guiding star in the vast darkness of his solitude. He remembered their kindness, their love, the warmth of their hands, and these memories, though tinged with sadness, were what propelled him forward. They were the fuel for his resilience. He found small comforts where he could, a sun-warmed rock to rest on, a hidden spring of cool water, the fleeting scent of a deer that reminded him of the park. He was constantly moving, driven by an inner compass that seemed to pull him in a general direction, though he knew not where. It was a journey of pure instinct, a relentless quest for something indefinable, yet utterly essential. The world was vast, indifferent, and often cruel, but Buddy, the golden retriever who had lost everything, refused to be broken. With each sunrise, he rose, shook off the chill of the night, and continued his solitary march, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a dog, determined to find his place in the world, whatever that place might be. Months blurred into a relentless procession of sunrises and sunsets, each day a new challenge, a new lesson in survival. Buddy's journey had taken him hundreds of miles, a meandering path guided by instinct and a faint, persistent hope. He had traversed dense forests where the trees formed a cathedral of silence, crossed sprawling plains under vast, indifferent skies, and even navigated the treacherous, rocky terrain of low mountains. His body was a map of his travels, scars from skirmishes with other animals, patches of fur rubbed raw, but beneath it all, a sinewy strength that belied his once pampered existence. He was a creature of the wild now, his senses finely tuned, his movements economical and precise. He had learned to hunt small game when scavenging proved fruitless, to drink from dew-kissed leaves when water was scarce, and to find the warmest hollows for shelter during cold nights. The constant struggle had forged him into a formidable survivor, but it had not extinguished the gentle light in his eyes, nor the deep-seated yearning for companionship that simmered beneath his tough exterior. The memory of the Millers, though distant, remained a soft glow in the back of his mind, a reminder of a life filled with love and warmth. One afternoon, as he trotted along a less traveled gravel road, a subtle shift in the air caught his attention. It wasn't a visual cue nor a sound, but a scent, a complex tapestry of aromas that tugged at something deep within his memory. It was the faint, unmistakable smell of freshly cut grass, mingling with the sweet fragrance of blooming hydrangeas, the distant tang of chlorine from a swimming pool, and the distinct, subtle scent of human homes. Not just any human homes, but his human homes, his old neighborhood. His heart gave a sudden, powerful lurch, a sensation he hadn't felt in what felt like an eternity. His pace quickened, his tail, which had long hung low, gave a tentative, almost involuntary wag. Could it be? Was he truly, impossibly, nearing the place he once called home? A surge of conflicting emotions washed over him, frantic excitement, overwhelming trepidation, and a profound, aching fear of disappointment. He pushed forward, his nose to the ground, trying to confirm the impossible. The smells grew stronger, more defined. He caught the scent of freshly baked bread, a child's discarded toy in a lawn, the faint, familiar aroma of a specific type of fabric softener that Mrs. Miller used. It was all so incredibly familiar, yet also terrifyingly distant. He passed a small, well-maintained park, its green fields manicured, its playground bustling with children's laughter. It wasn't Meadowbrook Park, but it held the same joyous energy, a stark contrast to the quiet, wild places he had grown accustomed to. He kept to the shadows of the hedges, observing, his senses on overload. Every house, every garden, every passing car felt like a piece of a puzzle he once knew intimately, now seen through the blurry lens of time and trauma. He recognized the general layout of the streets, the types of trees that lined the sidewalks, the architectural styles of the houses. He was definitely in a suburban neighborhood, one that bore an uncanny resemblance to his old one. The closer he got, the more intense the emotions became. He was excited, yes, but also filled with a deep sense of dread. What would he find? Would his family be there? Or would he find only empty spaces, ghosts of a past that could never be reclaimed? The familiar scent was a siren call, pulling him forward, but also warning him of the potential heartbreak that lay ahead. He had survived so much, endured so much. Now, he was about to face the ultimate test, the confrontation with his past, the potential end of his long, arduous journey. His pause, though weary, carried him forward, drawn by the irresistible pull of a fading memory and a fragile hope. With each block, the familiarity grew stronger, sharper, cutting through the haze of his weary mind. Buddy's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic rhythm of hope and despair. He recognized the peculiar bend in the sidewalk, the gnarled oak tree that always shed its leaves onto Mr. Henderson's lawn, the brightly painted mailbox of the Peterson family down the street. It was undeniable. He was here. He was on his old street. His pause, though sore and calloused, carried him with a renewed, almost feverish energy towards the house that had once been the center of his universe. He turned the final corner, and there it was, the Miller's house, his home. It stood there, a two-story beacon of memory, looking both exactly the same and utterly, heartbreakingly different. The cheerful yellow paint was still there, a little faded, a little chipped. The porch swings still hung, slightly askew. The rose bushes Mrs. Miller tended so carefully were still blooming, their scent a poignant reminder of her presence. But the windows were dark, curtained, devoid of the familiar glow of lamplight or the flickering blue of the television. The lawn, once meticulously manicured by Mr. Miller, was now a little overgrown, wilder than he remembered. The familiar scent of his family, Lily's sweet perfume, Tom's earthy boy smell, Mrs. Miller's gentle floral scent, Mr. Miller's comforting cologne, was gone, replaced by the faint, stale odor of disuse, of emptiness. A small, hand-painted for sale sign was hammered into the front lawn, its message a stark, brutal blow to Buddy's fragile hope. It was a clear, unambiguous statement. His family was not here. They were not coming back. This house, his home, was no longer theirs. It was just a building waiting for new occupants, new lives, new scents that would override the ghosts of his past. Buddy walked slowly up the familiar flagstone path, his tail drooping, his ears flattened. He nudged the front door with his nose, whimpering softly. He remembered scratching at it, waiting for Lily to let him in, her cheerful Buddy echoing through the entryway. Now there was only the cold, unyielding wood, silent and unresponsive. He circled the house, sniffing at every corner, every bush, every crack in the foundation. He found no fresh scent, no recent tracks, no sign that his family had ever been there since that fateful day. The realization hit him with the force of a physical blow, a final, crushing wave of grief that transcended all the previous losses. His family was truly gone. His home was truly lost. The long, arduous journey, the weeks of hunger, the months of fear, the fleeting moments of hope, they had all led him to this empty, heartbreaking truth. There was no reunion, no joyous return to the life he once knew. That life was over, irrevocably lost in the wreckage of an accident he still couldn't comprehend. He lay down on the porch, his head resting on his paws, his eyes fixed on the blank front door. He whined a low, guttural sound of pure anguish. He remembered the last meal they shared, the picnic, the chicken breast, the laughter. It felt like a lifetime ago, a dream from another world. He lingered there for hours, a silent sentinel of a vanished past, his body aching, his heart shattered. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in a melancholic array of purples and grays, Buddy finally, slowly, painfully rose to his feet. There was nothing left for him here. His old life was a ghost, and he was a wandering spirit, bound to no place, to no one. With a heavy heart and a profound sense of finality, he turned his back on the empty house and walked away, leaving behind the last tangible remnants of the last meal together. His journey was far from over, but the destination he had unconsciously sought was gone forever. Loyal golden retriever with soulful eyes, turning his back on the empty Miller house was the hardest thing Buddy had ever done. It was the final agonizing severance from his past, a definitive end to the hope that had, however faintly, fueled his long journey. He walked away, not knowing where he was going, only that he couldn't stay. The weight of his grief was immense, a crushing burden that made each step heavy. He was a survivor, yes, but he was also a dog with a broken heart. He wandered aimlessly for a while, the familiar streets of his old neighborhood now feeling alien and unwelcoming without his family's presence. The scents that had once been comforting now only served as painful reminders. As dusk settled, painting the familiar suburban landscape in hues of twilight, a new scent, subtle but distinct, caught his attention. It wasn't the scent of his family, nor the wild musk of a stray, but a warm, inviting aroma that spoke of home and care. It was the smell of freshly baked cookies, mingling with the gentle scent of clean laundry and, faintly, the comforting aroma of a simmering stew. It was a scent of domesticity, of life, of a home that was lived in. It came from a house just a few blocks away from his old one, a charming, slightly smaller bungalow with a vibrant patch of petunias spilling from its window boxes. Hesitantly, Buddy approached, his tail still low, his body language communicating caution and weariness. He peered through a gap in the fence. In the backyard, a young boy, no older than Lily, was gently tossing a soft tennis ball for a smaller, fluffy white dog. The dog barked happily, retrieving the ball and bringing it back. An older woman with kind silver hair watched from a patio chair, a gentle smile on her face. The scene was so utterly normal, so full of the simple joys he had once known that it tugged at something deep within him. He watched them for a long time, an invisible observer, a ghost peering into a world he had lost. A sudden small whimper escaped Buddy's throat, a sound born of longing and exhaustion. The young boy looked up, his eyes, dark and perceptive, immediately locking onto Buddy's. He froze, the tennis ball still in his hand, then slowly, cautiously approached the fence. "Mom, look," he said softly, pointing. The woman followed his gaze, her smile fading slightly, replaced by a look of concern. Buddy braced himself, expecting a shout, a shooing motion, but none came. The boy, his name was Leo, knelt by the fence, his movements slow and gentle. "Hey there, fella," he murmured, his voice soft and non-threatening. "Are you lost?" Buddy whined again, a little louder this time, his eyes pleading. Leo, sensing his fear, but also his gentle nature, slowly extended an open hand, palm up towards Buddy. "It's okay," he whispered. "I won't hurt you." Buddy hesitated, remembering the woman at the farm stand, the fleeting kindness. But something in Leo's eyes, a genuine compassion, disarmed him. He took a tentative step forward, his nose twitching, sniffing the boy's outstretched hand. The woman, Leo's mother, had also approached, her face etched with sympathy. "He looks like he's been through a lot, Leo," she said, her voice gentle. She knelt beside her son. "He's so thin." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, dried dog treat. "Here, boy," she offered, holding it out. Buddy, still wary but overwhelmingly hungry, took another step. His instinct, battered but not broken, told him these were good people. These were kind hands. He gently took the treat, his eyes fixed on their faces, searching for any hint of deceit. He found none, only warmth and genuine concern. He devoured the treat, then looked up at them, his tail giving a tiny, hopeful wag. He was still heartbroken, still scarred, but in this moment, in the presence of these kind strangers, a tiny, fragile seed of a new beginning was planted. The tentative offering of a treat from Leo's mother, Sarah, was the first thread in a new tapestry of trust for Buddy. He didn't immediately rush into their arms, the scars of his past still too raw, the fear of abandonment still a cold presence in his heart. But he didn't run away either. He stayed at the fence, accepting more treats, allowing Leo to softly murmur reassuring words, his small dog, Patches, wagging his tail in friendly invitation. Slowly, patiently, the new family earned his trust. It took several days of gentle coaxing, of food left out, of soft voices and slow movements, before Buddy finally tentatively walked through the open gate and into their backyard. The first time Leo gently stroked his matted fur, Buddy flinched, then leaned into the touch, a deep, resonant sigh escaping him. It had been so long since he felt a human hand with kindness, not with force or indifference. Sarah, a veterinarian assistant, recognized the signs of trauma and neglect. She bathed him gently, carefully removing the burrs and mats from his golden fur, treating his old wounds with soothing balms. He resisted at first, the water a shocking memory of the storm, but her gentle hands and soothing voice eventually calmed him. He emerged from the bath, a lighter, cleaner version of his former self, his golden fur once again beginning to shine. The process of healing was slow, not just physically, but emotionally. Buddy still had moments of fear, sudden flinches at loud noises, a tendency to hoard food, and an instinct to retreat to secluded corners. But Leo, with the boundless patience and empathy of a child, and Sarah, with her understanding and gentle persistence, never gave up on him. They gave him space, time, and unwavering love. Patches, the small white terrier, became his constant companion, a cheerful, non-judgmental presence who helped Buddy remember the simple joys of play. He learned new routines, morning walks with Leo, quiet afternoons napping in a sunbeam by the back door, evenings spent curled at Sarah's feet while she read. He found comfort in the predictable rhythm of their lives, in the gentle laughter, in the quiet hum of their home. He never forgot the Millers, not truly. Their memory remained a bittersweet ache, a part of the tapestry of his life. but it was no longer a torment. It was a foundation, a reminder of the love he was capable of giving and receiving. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Buddy lay on a soft rug in the living room, a full belly, a warm spot, and the comforting sounds of human conversation surrounding him. Leo came over and knelt beside him, gently scratching behind his ears, a familiar gesture that sent a wave of contentment through Buddy. "You're home now, Buddy," Leo whispered, his voice full of affection. And Buddy knew it was true. He had found his way back, not to the old home he had lost, but to a new one, filled with a different kind of love, a different kind of hope. The last meal together with the Millers had been a farewell, a tragic end to an idyllic life. But this new meal, shared in the warmth and safety of Leo and Sarah's home, was a beginning. It was a promise of many more meals, many more gentle touches, many more years of companionship. Buddy, the golden retriever who had struggled so valiantly to survive, had finally found his peace. His journey through loss, fear, and solitude had led him to this moment, a testament to the enduring power of resilience, the unwavering spirit of a dog, and the boundless capacity of the heart to heal and find love anew. He closed his eyes, a soft, contented sigh escaping him, truly home at last.